Welcome to another episode of Inspiration Motives. Today's episode is going to be dealing with an Article 15 in the military. As you know, I'm currently a Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. These are my own personal opinions and thoughts. They do not reflect the United States Air Force. So let's get started. So, as some of you know, early in my career, as a E3, I actually received an Article 15. So I want to give you a little story, a background about that. So I received an Article 15 for DUI. So what ended up happening was I was fresh from deployment, just got back from deployment. I was having kind of a hard time adjusting. Wasn't reflecting at work or nothing. It was just more of a just mental thing, personal thing. And it just so happened one weekend I decided to go out. I had food beforehand and my stomach was all jacked up. I end up deciding to still go out. End up having literally 2 rum and cokes. And the thing was that at that time I actually did used to be able to drink a lot, because that for my unit that was just the normal climate. Like, it was easy for us to go through a case of beer in a night together and stuff like that, and that's just what it was. So that day I literally had 2 rum and cokes. Decide I'm gonna leave the bar, go home. As I'm going home, because I told you I felt sick earlier, I felt the food coming up. Next thing you know, I'm at a red light. I opened the door a little bit, I thought I was gonna throw up. Didn't want to throw up in the car. End up closing the door. Light turns green. I'm about 2 blocks up. I get pulled over. The cop gives me a bunch of sobriety tests. He says I'm perfectly fine. He's like, you look perfectly fine. He's like, I see you're just sick. He's like, last thing I need you to do is just go blow in the breathalyzer and you're good to go. So I'm like, all right. End up blowing in the breathalyzer, blew over off of the 2 drinks. So next thing you know, I go through that whole process. My first sergeant picks me up. Ends up, same thing. He comes up to me. He's like, hey, he's like, you look perfectly fine. He's like, you're not drunk. I was like, I know. I was like, I still blew over. So he's like, all right. He's like, well, we'll take care of it the next day. So at the time, it was just bad timing when I got it. My NCOIC at the time was brand new while I was deployed. So he didn't really know me. So he was honest with me, ends up telling me, hey, through this whole process, I can't support you because I don't know you like that. He was like, I hear nothing but great things about you, but I just can't put my career on the line for you. So I fully understood. I was cool with it because he was straightforward with me. So at the time, my supervisor was very young. I did nothing but great things. At this time, I volunteered for like 5-6 different things on base. Organizations and things like that. I had over 100 hours of volunteer at the time. I was taking college classes. I even wrote my own yearly evaluation, my EPR. I was doing everything by the book. When you go through your punishments, that's all. You can only bring your supervisor and your NCOIC. So long story short, my supervisor didn't stick up with me, but it was more, he was new, he was scared. So he never spoke up for me. So when it came down to getting my punishment, there was somebody that was actually underage that got a DUI at the same time as me. And that person got a lesser punishment than I did because his leadership kind of stuck up for him, right? So they busted me down to 1 stripe, took away my pay, half of my pay for like 2-3 months, maybe do extra duty for 21 days straight, which is pretty much you're working 12-hour days every single day, no days off, and couldn't drive on base for a year. So when this whole thing happened, it was crazy because all of a sudden my supervisor, my leadership kind of just flipped on me, where I was doing everything right. That one thing I did wrong, all of a sudden turned me into, pretty much they looked at me like a shitbag. One of the big things when you're dealing with Article 15 is It's you got to learn from your mistakes. You're not your mistake. So the big thing is when if you do something wrong, you learn from it, you press on, and you make sure that you don't let it happen again. And you could teach other people from your lesson as well. So that's what I did. After pretty much when that ended up happening, um, I I still kept excelling. I still kept going through matter of fact, I even got put in for Airman of the Quarter after that. Didn't win, but I got put in for it. But I just kept busting my ass, working my butt off. Um, then my supervisor, they kept trying to beat me up though, because it was more because I just moved right on and was trying to do everything right now and all that stuff. Um, they felt I wasn't taking it serious because they didn't see me dwelling on it. They didn't see me crying about it. None of that. Don't let people put you in that box. If you know you made this one mistake, then that's it. Just learn from it. Tell them you're going to learn from it. Be honest about it. You got to take it as just a stepping stone. Fast forward, I'm currently a master sergeant in the Air Force, about to put on senior master sergeant soon. The thing you got to think about is when you're going through that, it's easy. It's one of the things that I've always told people. You could do a million things right. When you do one thing wrong, that's what they remember you by. So when you do mess up, you're going to have a lot of people that you thought were cool with you all of a sudden turn on you. You're going to notice a lot of changes and things like that, but it's up to you to write your story. Take it as a rehabilitation thing. And at the same time, not looking at it from a leadership perspective. From a leadership perspective, if your troop gets an Article 15, unless that troop was like a complete shitbag that was constantly, getting in trouble nonstop, didn't have any underlying conditions, didn't want to be in the military, all that stuff, that's different. But if you know that person's like this came out of nowhere, something like that, you got to look for the underlying conditions. There's usually something that led to that point. You got to help that person grow. Because the one thing I see a lot is that leadership, once that happens, they like to beat the person down even more, not realizing the whole extent of the whole situation. They might have some kind of mental health thing going on. They might have shit going on at home that you don't know about. They might have freaking lost somebody. You have no idea. They might be freaking going broke for all you know. You got to find out what is wrong. Too often, leadership likes to just freaking pounce on the person and beat them down while they're down. Beat them up even more while they're down. That's not the right thing to do. At the end of the day, you're supposed to be able to help be a part of that rehabilitation portion. It should feel good when you know freaking that person messed up or that person had this going on and you were able to bring them back and you helped them freaking strive and end up freaking thriving in the career field. So whenever, as a leader, if you're just fucking beating your person down and you're just being a yes person because you're afraid to fucking speak up to the chief or the commander because you're just afraid, that's wrong. The only person that the person that got in trouble, the only person that they have that's able to speak up for them is you. If that person didn't give you any other thing to give you any kind of negative thing towards them, and this was the only thing they did, you owe it to them. Far too often we lose freaking good people in the military because they get in trouble once and all of a sudden they're beat down to shit, even though they were fucking great workers and they accomplished a freaking lot. But all of a sudden you want to throw all that out the window because they made one mistake. You got to remember they're human. We're human. Everybody's human. So one of the key takeaways, if you're the person that got the Article 15, learn from it. Take it serious, but learn from it. You got other people looking out for you. There's other people that have been through it. You're going to have old school people be like, oh, I had one or two of them before. I've had three of them, and they'll joke about it. Don't take it as a joke. Because the thing is, those were different times. At that time, they didn't care. Nowadays, you could get an Article 15 and get kicked out the military for the smallest thing. So do take it serious, but take it as a chance to prove yourself, to prove how resilient you are, to prove you're not that mistake, you're not that person. It was just a glitch in the system that ended up happening to you. And for those leaders out there, once again, help rehabilitate the person. Find out what the root cause of the situation was. Don't jump to conclusions. That person's going to be getting beat up enough, especially by the commander and the chief. So be that person could come to and freaking be open to figure out exactly what's going on and why they ended up in that situation. Help them learn from it. I'm not saying you got to be best friends, buddy, but it's your job to freaking help them grow, because guess what? And this will be a little drastic, but how the fuck are you going to feel? And sorry for my language. How are you going to feel if you beat this person down? This person's already at their freaking lowest point, and you keep freaking beating them down. And one day you get that call, hey, this person, can you come identify the body because this person committed suicide? How the fuck is that going to make you feel? Hindsight 2020, you can't take that back at that point. So freaking find out what the root cause is. Find out what the whole situation is. And help them get the help that they need. Whether they need a chaplain, whether they need counseling, whether they need some kind of therapist or something. If it's money issues, some kind of financial counseling or something. If it's a drinking issue, AA meetings, or talking to a chaplain, talking to a psychologist, anything. But that's your job. Like it or not, when you put on that rank and you became a leader, that's your job. All right. So if you like this video, hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. Until next time, see ya.